GRA GRA loi moo ko dooleel pour mu fay ko tax GRA GRA loi moo ko dooleel pour mu fay ko tax GRA GRA loi moo ko dooleel pour mu fay ko tax GRA GRA loi moo ko dooleel pour mu fay ko tax GRA GRA loi moo ko dooleel.
Hello viewers from wherever you're watching us from. You're watching QTV, the Gambia's first private TV station, and we're broadcasting live from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue. My name is Ali Osise, and it's now time for your weekly GRA Taxpayer Education Program here on QTV, brought to you by the Gambia Revenue Authority and in collaboration with the French Development Agency, a program which is meant to help you better understand what the tax policies are, your responsibility as taxpayers, and how do you go about paying your taxes to contribute to national development. And joining me in the studio, I have on my immediate left Mr. Henry Mende, who is Manager Taxpayer Education. Mr. Mende, good to have you in the program once again.
Thank you, Ali.
And on my immediate right, I have Mr. Noha Mane, who is the manager of the rental income tax section at the Gambia Revenue Authority. Noha, once again, good to have you in the program.
Thank you, Ali.
And on my far left, I have, far right rather, I have Ibrahim S. Sane, who is Taxpayer Education Officer. Ibrahim, welcome to the program once again.
Very much, Ali.
Yes, I know for many who have been watching this program, in the past 2 editions we've been discussing about the rental income tax, which we are going to continue today as well, just to make you better understand, what the rental income tax is all about. Though, GRA is just implementing it. It has been in the laws, for as long as you may think. So today also, we are going to continue that discussion just to make you better understand, the different types of rental income and all those things. But to start with, we'll just give a recap, especially for those who are joining the program for the first time. When you talk about it, the rental income, take us through the basics. What are we talking about? What are the different types of rental income and all those things before we get into the main issue for today?
Yeah, thank you, Leo. Good evening to viewers there and to our taxpayers and our management if they are watching. It's a pleasure to be here again with you for another GRA hour today. As he rightly said, the topic of discussion is rental income. What is rental income tax and how many forms of rental income do we have? So going into that, the rental income is about owning a property that is built and rented out or leased out. So again, the money that is paid to you, the tax component, there is a tax component in the money that is paid to you for using or for that service. So in the rental income, you have 2 types. You have the commercial rental income that is mainly for properties used for commercial purposes. Commercial purposes like business, banks, offices, all those categories falls under commercial rental income. And that one has a percentage of 15% that you need to pay as tax. And the other type is the residential rental income. That is, these are premises built where people mainly stays there with their families. But this does not include hotels, guest houses, inns, boarding rooms. In the law, those ones are not part of the rental income because those ones are categorized under businesses. So for that category, whoever is receiving money there, you're supposed to be paying 8% of what is paid to you, to the government, as rental income tax on commercial property. So I think, with that, my advice, as I said last week, is the same. For viewers there, we want you to be calling. Yeah. We want you to make this program interactive. If you have any doubts whether it is rental income or some other things that has to do with GRA taxes, maybe if we are in a position to help, we will help. If we cannot help, we will find a way for you.
And to be part of the program, you can you can call 5050505 5050505. I know my team, they will display the numbers on the screen just in case you want to call and contribute to the program. Just before I bring Ibrahim here, Nuha, when you talk about this rental income, is this something new or is it something new in the laws or mandate of the Gambia Revenue Authority?
Yeah, it is not something new.
Okay.
Though in our records, we have taxpayers that have been paid for the last 10 or more years. Okay. Because it is provided for in the Income and VAT Act. That's 2012. Okay. The rental income is already stated there. So even from 2012 to now, that's a number of years. Okay. So it's not a new tax. It's just the enforcement strategy that has changed. Okay. So it's not a new tax. So we want the taxpayers out there to know that it is not something that is newly introduced, as people may think. And these are some of the issues we face. Some will come and say, you people are always thinking of bringing new taxes all the time, collecting money from people. So they need to understand it's not a new tax. Okay. It's just the enforcement strategy that has been changed. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Let me now bring in Ibrahim. Ibrahim, ya moy noye memfo because ngalon ko nyina mun na tal edison te kabri ngani programme commencer. Ngalo asikeno dolbe je bilam the first time ibe programme ni join kan bari just be men kacha gole mu rental income te vraiment ko mo jama sa mera kom ko kutolem bari nyitara jare luwal ko na meta jele. So lafta ya fo mo le drong ni ko rental income ay mun free mun rental income te and mun mu the types of rental income te.
Okay, thank you very much, Aliou Baraka Bake. Assalamu alaikum, atel badiun lamor jiber larun ben jibe kan QTV kabanang Kareba Avenue jang. Ko nuwa fo nyaming abol nyama ni nata bi na kacha medaka kan lokun saba so bi janimbe dunna na wala da ko kuto kono lafra pour ka summarize wala ka sutiandi ne mun kacha pour mulian ko be da bulaga kacha kono sainte financial be mun kacha kan ko nuwaye aliwe nuwañi nin kamuna wolo indi ko rental income ni ko rental income wala namo fannali fannamu yanno ko wolo muli yanno ko do soto wala nafaso do namo la kar wala mu yanno ko ni dara kenola kanira Gambia banko kana jibe jan say mo jama bi jam yanno ko ale so na flula ya kenol sang ka fu properties e lorol kije ni nata na rental income la ko nuwa fu nyam fanna fulalon fanna fulo ka fo le commercial rental income tax wolon namoti muyano ko yesoto ke loro ke korale muyano ko bunloji o bunmu e lo pour official lo kamam official lo biye e do lo magazine lo biye do bidiko lo biye wala dol biye e lo pour shopping mall lo wala dol supermarket lo muyano ko ke nafulo soto je bam mo manda sabato to fanala ka fole commercial rental income so loi fo nyami nin karo fata wala karnin kardon wala karsabo ko ka mo kotale wala saw karo ron wala sawn kono lon ni mal luwaye ci kani munna wolon nyanda keme dal sitang anin lulu wolon 15% wala mu kuma karawunte nyanda ko mun jo na moy do ni obadaji fanna fulanjan wolon ka fo mu ko wolon residential income tax wolon muliano ko e fane ko do so e kenol sang inatana loro ke o kenol to e mullo je wolon tara dinkra wolon ladula mu ko monni la dimbal e ke luwasi ke laje bari manke do ko ladi so kamala wo masakunda e kanimunna wolon nin karo fada karo kare ko luwaso ko jonya dol karsaba dol karo woro dol sang kono sinya kilim luwaye charge mun e nyamudi jiare la wolon keme nyanda dal sisay ende ko lo joy ka fumna 8%. Aliwe nyini karo mfanaka fo rental income fo kukuro lambang safa hani nyimka kukurode nyimu kuldi muyano ka meta Gambia kono jana ka bin 2012 wolon sanjitang ani saba komando ka mo sembo me jiare loi bunda mo sembo di jiare pour que namu kani wolon ivat acti wolon 2012 wolon section 122 wolon 122 kata 125 wole sembo di jiare le pour que namu ta ka kani ni nada jiwe residential income tax ko no afanyam bladol fam bima ko tara dingral lon kom ko hotel wol boarding resident wala mu yana ko e ke molka sabati je wala ni ins ani kudol mu yana ko mol fanam bije sabato ko dulado no way tan di ko wol mu fewte mu yana ko wol mantra rental income tax kono wo ni be fanna be tamaka ni business wala wo mu kulti mu yana ko business wala wo ibina jiare register ye file ile so e kana mojo ko business wol ka jo nyaming Aliou bo ñaan
barka bake Ibrahima Henry yaa no dega ma no lacce nu ha rek xam naa ne programme bi mo nekk third edition bi ñu nekk di am wa xam naa ne mun na am nañu bari bi mo nekk di first time ñu ngi join programme bi te li ñu koy discuss mo nekk di wàllu rental income mun na am ñu bari dégg nañ ko waaye am nañ certain misconception nga xam ne xamuñ ko wala ñu ko jéem a jaawale ak yeneen yoo xam ne bokkut si soo ñu mënee bamtuwaat rek pour xamal gars yi soo déggee rental income lan la ak ban façon moo am ak ndax li lu ees la.
jërëjëf Aliou mu maa forcé pour ma lakk wolof
waaw
yaa ma forcé pour ma laka wolof.
non man ba neex nag ah tey ma dégg elel kuja
kon naa ma laka njaago kon tey njaago laa war a laka tey suma mbokki ñu seetaan te dégg làkki wolof li nu waawal laa bugga ci gàttal wax leen lan la wa ci àngale mooy Aliou daf ko laajte lan mooy rental income tax ñaari façon la commercial mooy nga am béréb nga luwaas ko wala liis ko ñu laa fay te loolu business moo fa dee xew liñ ci ab weer bu nekk wala ñetti weer yu nekk wala ci at bi téeméer bu nekk fukk ak juróom nga war a génne nga dem fay ko jiyaare ñaareel bi mooy commercial mooy residential income tax rental income tax mooy nga am béréb nga luwaas ko ñi dëkk fa ak seen njaboot te ñu laa fay waaw loo ci am téeméer bu nekk juróom-ñetti dërëm ngaa génne mooy 8% nga yóbbu ko dem fay ko jiyaare léegi laajte nañ ko nag ndax INSI bokk nañ foofu ñu ne déedéet boo amee hôtel business boppam la ñoom ñetti weer yu nekk dinañ ñëw file ñu fay guest house yi boarding si INSI ak ñi nga xam ne dañ dee am seen only ñu luye ko pour ñuy dëkka waaye du comme njaboot ñoo dëkka bokkuñ so boo amee façon yi da nga ñoo file business la nga fay waaw loolu lañ waxoon ñaari semaine yu romb dañ ko bëgg a bantuwaat rek pour ñu fekkewu toon ñaari semaine yu passé ñu mun ci am njëriñ.
ndax lu ees la.
déedéet loolu lu yàgg la. am na fukki at ak ñetta léegi. 2012 lañ ko ci IVAT ak lañ ko boole woon lu yàgg la. waaye am nga bari ñu woon ay staff yoo xam ne dinañ mun a enforce lii. so léegi loolu la management seet ñu create section jokkoon mu xeet ko moo tax léegi ñuy dugg kër yu bari di dugg béréb yu bari di jëlaat yeneen wecci yu doxin pour mun a jot ñëpp pour ñu mun a fay waaye jéem leen ngeen ñëw fay bu leen toog yaa suñ gars yi ñoo fekka leen foofu jërëjëf.
So jërëjëf Henry, like I said, if you want to be part of the program, you can call 5050505. I mean, that's one of the numbers. I mean, you are seeing other numbers on the screen as well. Ku bëgg a bokk si programme bi rek mun ngaa woti number yi ngi nekk di seen screen bi pour mun a bokk si waxtaan bi so amee laajte loolu leen bëgg a laajte tam the right people are here nga xam ne ñoo leen a mun a jox xibaar yu leer loo xam ne amut kilis kala soo leen mun a ko rek mu ngeen a call bari ngol mel be programme yi juube kan moom meyana ko ilefta ko commande roke pour ka ñini karoke isi won nombal commande mel be screen oto 5050505 dol fana beji asimel commande no pour ka ñini karoke wala ñal alafta kala miralol la fambe min kacha kan abe kumela ba karu nyamoy ko jiare alla jiare lam an nyamoy yin programme na pro altol mi ko altol kan na mojo so just I mean we know that in this country there are so many rentals happening informally. So as an office, how do you identify the landlords who should pay this tax?
Thank you, Aliu. I think we mentioned one of the strategies in the previous session, like especially for landlords who happens to give their properties to businesses. So those businesses also have tax obligations. By end of the year, they file a tax return. And the tax return for businesses, it allows you to claim expenses that you incur during the year. So one of the key among those expenses, most of the time, is the rent they paid. So it is an allowable deduction for businesses. So on the tax return, they will put information on how much rent is paid and to who the money is paid to. Even your contact numbers are provided. So at GRA, especially the rental income section, is using that as a means to reach out to people who have not been coming. So, and with that one, even the figure that is paid to you is clearly indicated. So most of the time we will sit in the offices and start calling people with those numbers, and they will be surprised where we get their numbers from, in fact. So that is something that is happening, and to know that, and the other thing is the fieldwork. The continuous field work that they're doing. They go in the streets, go into houses, collect information. So the tenants, most of the tenants are always eager to let people to tell GRA how much rent they pay. So anytime you walk into a property, the tenants, you ask them who owns the place, how much rent you paying. Because the moment you say GRA, they think it's an opportunity for them to also expose some of the challenges that they are facing. So they give them the information firsthand. This is what I paid, and this is the owner, or even if not the owner of the compound, but this is the agent they pay to. All those informations are provided.
So what happens in an event where you have a compound? Sometimes it happens, I mean, in the same premises, you know, other part is rented out as commercial, and the other part is as residential. So how do you do that payment?
Yeah, exactly. What is important is the ownership. We try to establish the ownership. Whether it's the same person that owns the business premises, is the same person that owns the residential. So if that is the case, it is all catered for in the tax return. The tax return will clearly ask you how much of the revenue you're receiving is from residential and how much is from the commercial. So the different rates, apply.
Okay. That's interesting. Ibrahim, ayamu nkan no anyini kamina drong wala ya don't saying, I mean, lansolo siata like kordal wafo siata bakele, and then alkalo nyaadi le momen ko wala nyanda kanyen na mojo. Anu pada ika korda dol je me an ko koral kilin ko maybe nyata ya ke stote commercial yaren out bitikoti bari konoto molle be sabati rinje.
Aka baraka bake Aliou ko nuwa fo nyami abol nyama ko jiari nke kibaro soto ani mako ro soto mol fon bul bagale ade ngo kam mako na do ko dole ko Aliou ya fo nyami nata ila korda soto ya luwasi ila o luwas lal mu yan ko nin sango banda wol fon kana filing kele jiari ado ni be filing kele kayto bala safiro kata yemo fomo ina ka fil juman tam korrati e ka jello jo ala telephone number so e ka obi ki jele so mu kulti mu yana ko through that information GRA also nka we are able to ke korrati o te landlord ke loke dawda gambe kono jam si call ka fo na office wala na agent dol ki yeta ye meet ila so kon ka fo ko e nyanda kay namul jo ado nyanda kana GRA lo o mu for one of the means of mu yana ko nke ko nka find out fulanjang fana bijele ko nuwa fo nyami fana ne molso do miana ko kata field work la ko ni nana office do momo do kula e fanna dila miana ko tanyanda concentrate la dula ka traite la ko so ni wo fana sita wol fana ka findile watni wati kata wo field work la kata wo ko dula ta ke jibe ko koralta ki nata korram miana ko wolle be nyin kankar kunda wala mo kar wolo tam so kuldi miana ko kana dulati there is no way easy escape no GRA la so fonni bulana tax bracket nyin kono so nyin ku flol di muyana ko ngo use le pour kata ke korati wana kenetiol wala muyana ko be tamaka nyi business ko no pour si ibondino pour si namo jo namo nyanda ka jo GRA. Okay, ko nuwa fo nyami fulanjang fana bijira to dum muliana ko ye korra kilin soto ya luwase karado ya ke business oti karado ya ke luwaso dum ya ko monni la dimbal lebji nuwa fo nyami abul nya hansa wo ni sango banda wala kotali wala karworo o mulia bi luwas wala je wol fana kana jiarele ya fo jiare ni luwas wala jam pour business o ni luwas pour tara dingra ni so fomo bekata e ke o you are catered for o bekata fomo ka itandele ko ni dingra kar wolon for commercial when you pay commercial rental income in korado mi an ko wolbe tara dula mu ina dimbal be you also pay that for residential income tax so cool mi an ko kanati ya ma mix abebe scenario na adum abe lankame yarim fanam mu an ko be tamaka ni business ko no jiare mi bula koma Aliou
abaraka bak Ibrahima Henry comme li ma ko don laacc rek xamna legi amin ñu bari ñu ngi jënd ay land di ko develop amin kër yi bari nañ comme south sa bor danaka lance yëpp dem nañ so nak ngeen na mëna identify ni kii moo war a fay kii warta fay
waaw loolu comme ni mu ko waxee jëlbeen bi mooy ñu fa dëkka
xam naa léegi boori kaccuma yëpp dem nañ
foofu yëpp da nga bëgg a laal ma ñu jaay
man kay bëgg naa ko south moom
bu nekkee ne am na ñu fa nekka te luwaas di def business ñoom tamit bu ñuy file pour fay seen individual income tax wala business income tax dañ leen dee bàyyi ñu bind la ñaata lañ fay rent bi ko loolu dañ ko dee génnee pour mun a calculate profit so ñooñu forme bi dina ko laajte ñaata nga dee fay borom kër gi naka la tudda lan mooy téléphone nombaam so daf koy fil ci forme bi boo filee ba pare moom mu fay li mu war a fay mu dem office nuwaat tamit ñu jël nomba yooyu call borom kër gi wax ko ne da nga am luwaas sa kër da nga war a ñëw fay wala ñu dem fekki ko waxtaan ak moom won ko ne yaa ngi amee kër yi da nga war a fay ñaareel mooy liggéeykat yi dañ dee génn a dem di doxantu pour seet loolu seen liggéey la di ñu enforcement wala ku nekk dafa am bloc nga dem check sa bloc ñaata luwaas kër moo fa nekk ay kër yi ñu luwaas ak collect information ñëw mu ne yenn saa ndawam yi buñ àggee sax buñ laajtee ñu fa dëkk dañ dee wax boo ne jaaree ñu ne ñi dem kanami réew bi lañ jubal so dañ la dee wax ñaata lañ dee fay borom kër bi kan la lan mooy nombaam so loolu duñ ko jëlee ñun tam ñu dem ñu def suñ liggéey collect ak yeneen yu bari nguur doo ko mën a daw benn bés di nga nit nguur di nga nit tax clearance nga ñëw ci interview ñu téye la foofu so loolu tey nañ ko dee def léegi Aliou laajaat ko ne bu nekkee ne Henry am na property ci kanam ay bitik la ci biir a biir mu luwaas ko ñu ñuy dëkk fa ak seen famille ak seen njaboot so léegi noonu naka lañ ko mun a ajale wala naka lañ mun a jëlee naama boobu ma wax na ko ne forme bi am na ñaari lii am na lu laa laajte ñaata néeg nga am yoo xam ne commercial la ak ñaata néeg yoo xam ne ñi ñu fa dëkk seen njaboot bu nekkee commercial 15% la téeméer bu nekk fukk ak juróom ngay génne beneen bi téeméer bu nekk juróom-ñetti dërëm so di nga ko binda den nga calculate ñaata nga war a fay yëpp den nga fay noonu lañ ko dee def.
Interesting. And Noah, I mean, I know the Gambia Revenue Authority is going digital. I mean, as a new department or new unit, how are you trying to integrate that digital aspect into the work of your unit?
Yeah, thank you, Leo.
I mean, you wouldn't want people to be traveling long distance just to come to Evertop, to pay their rental. Exactly. So
we are also trying to cut some of the costs that people may incur in trying to pay the tax. So digitalization is a strategy used by the GRA management, and the rental income is not left out. Okay. Yeah, so that one, there is also a project that is on the line, is happening right now. The database, the dashboard and the system is what is being built currently. So as I said, the other program, there is a contract signed between the Gambia government and an IT firm in the US. So what they did, some of the data that has to do with property ownerships and personal people's informations were shared. And though that company will be using those informations to match and assign or when the system is completed, we will be able to know any name that we search in the system. We will be able to know whether there is any property attached to that particular person. So to the extent of even seeing the features, because those are all part of the contract. And part of it has already been conducted, this Google Street View. So at some point in the future, we will be sitting in our offices and looking at your buildings. So for all that is, we are trying to make the work easy, and also to trying to cope misinformation. Yeah, so that when you come to pay the tax, you don't come and try to hide some things from us. Imagine if the system can show us your building directly. So that one, I think the agreement will be very minimal. So the rental income tax system is also part of it. It's also part of it. So very soon, by October, people will start seeing what GRA have been working on with that company.
So what about for someone who perhaps is in Nyamanari after Basse, as far as Basse, might say, oh, this is just for those in the combos, not for me in the village. Is there any?
No, the program is going to be extended countrywide.
Okay.
As long as you are in Gambia.
You might be in Nyamanari, you have your compound there, and someone is there on posting, and you are renting out one of your rooms to the person, and you might say, oh, no, I don't need to pay this rental.
Yeah. Right now, right now we're calling on everybody who is renting to come forward and make the declaration and pay. Otherwise, you might be caught, even if you are caught years after. you might be liable to pay all the arrears, and the arrears you paid with penalty. Okay. And one of our program I mentioned, the penalty is checked every month. Okay. You are liable to a penalty of 5% per month, up to a maximum of 25%. So at
and if the person can't come to the head office, the person can visit any of your GRA offices in the regions and just make the...
So in order to avoid all those penalties, and there's an interest component too. The interest is calculated, is checked on daily basis. Okay. Every day that you miss out, after the due date, there is an interest that is applied. So imagine all that added to your tax liability. It's a lot of money. So to avoid all that, let us not sit and think GRA will not reach us. Okay. You might be rich, and in the time we will even reach you, you might not even know. Okay. So you'll be surprised. So the best thing is to come forward and make the declaration and pay the taxes.
Ibrahim, ya men kanyi ni kanu mena ngamo sang alikara digital GRA and then rental income fana mo fana ko a metal walo kono but alba implement can sign. So when in that digital aspect alba integrate kan nyadi nyin doko kono pour kaji molu yela namo jo nyata jola nyamen.
Okay, barka bag Aliou ko nuwa fu nyamin abewol nyama GRA be falindro ke kan ni jaman labang tamandiro la wala ni computer system we cover digitalization no manakata no ni computer silo la ko nuwa fu nyami already dashboard on ya bille fa pareta system information do le do tale bo kono la ko nuwa fu nyama bol nya fa nan GRA signiro ke ni American company la IT firm mo yana ko wenna database imena information tala gay sataka collect le gambe jang ko ratiol bulu ani ila contact number sol ani other details sol man ko sa obi tale so company be GRA ma ko la pour que system ta ka bil system mo yana ko wol be information be gadal ka ke in one place so mo kulti mo yana ko mo bele muta mobile bo o fanna ko no moti mo yana ko isa fo mantra tax net nin kono so mo mankana so ni mo yana ko ni system ta fa ko ni wa na ta fa parira ne abilta ni google map mo yana ko santo lang ila corral ani la dinkral dawda mbeta sin office ko ke la corral wala features fang be la corral la karla corral yin kankar kundala be street karle ani bunjel ni bun nangam lo bi mo nangam lo je mo abil wasola o mo koldi mo information be betara GRA bulle so kamala nyin jaman la bang system na digitalization na tam GRA mala fi nam jolal batande la pour que bo la sol kono pour que na joro la wato wadi in digitalization be telefon ma ko la ke kos nyin ta ka tale kam mo yan ko ka joro ke na mo nyina so mo kuldi mo ko information ni ba sona ndira GRA bulle so ko kamala mo yan ko e be gambe jang ko no afu nyambe dan la ka fo ko ina ye declaration ko ka fo nde nyin kene karobe nyin bun karobe mbal waska ko fane nyin karo ke alina anwala mun ka fo ni wa mo yan ko bolon kono ko nyamna last village in Gambia mu telephone tata phone tara foji 2012 I was there sin e jamfanya capital wala baro mo nyaaw mo kanande nyin ko la kato system ni ay banko be lo cover is going to cover the whole country nationwide long so mo yan ko be dawda Gambia jang kato fo ko na Banjul fo kum fo amdallah mbe dan la isna ila system mo ye fang report ke fang kankula GRA makafo nyin korale bumba yanko mbe tama kanyi silula dum luwaso le bi fo jannin GRA bat na la janni be tare la so kon wa fo nyami ni manson kana pour que fan declare manson na mo njo ni GRA na fo ni muta na mo jo commence ka 2012 fo sa nyitang anin saba komando so ni muta mbe charge la o muyana almanol kata almano en fanan anin an interest nyin kada adun almano nyin ko no afo nyam efin mon 5% adu interest nyin o mu luwolu no so mu kulti mu yana ko ni de mon son ka jo sanyi clean sanyi fula sanyi sa fo sanyi tang anin sabo sain e ma jo mu kulti mu yana ko abakam mantora baldi mu yana ko asi fondi na fulola asi hani fondi ila dinkrara ka luwa mu sembo di GRA pour na mota pour ka na kanin adun na mo mu kulti mu ko forcer long aya luwa ma yam fo momo je mu yana ko wajibo lon ko mo be nyaka na mo jolo as far as ibe income so ka la business on kono so mo kulti mu yana ko be mo be dande mu ko keno be bulle adun isina GRA ila na mota ka jo ka digitalization on apparetal by October abatara in operation full year so mo be ko valal so jani obe sila e fonsina no GRA supply information wala bara mu yana ko banko la bundalon telephone tamo adu be na mo nyam pour que banko yiri wande ani banko la do ko kam aliou ko be o nyaale
Henry si lu gàtt rek maa ngi ko doon laajte I mean dégg nga lu mu doon jéem a tontu xam naa ne naa ngi dem digital waaye rental income yi naka nga nekk di intégrité digital aspect of it pour mun a gis ne ñoo xam ne dañu war a fay seen rental income bi ñu mun koo fay on time fekk sonnuñ tam balaa ñu dugg si withholding tax bi nga xam ne boo na ci war a laal tuuti.
waaw wax nañ leen ne office bi Kanifing la nekk waaye jaaree am nañ office yu bëri ci dex gi waaye digitalisation bi fii lañ koy dooree. lu nekk step by step la phase ñu dem by phases bu ñu defee tuuti ñu yaatal ko waat demaat léegi dinañ jël Banjul ba Brikama ci kanam dinañ yokka dem ci kaw mais bi du sori sax ñu àgga Dongoroba.
waaw
loolu néegam boobu muy luwaas foofu dinañ ko gis. waaw dina fay. so dañ am contract with an American company ñoo xam ne dañ leen jox information yi jógee béréb yu bëri mel ni NAWEC physical planning area council ak yeneen yi so loolu la ñuy jël ñu dugal ko ci système bi léegi bu nekk léegi bu nekkee ne sa kër am nga 10 meters foofu li muy woneel ne mooy am nga luwaas bu nekkee famille rek ñooy dëkka foofu benn famille mais bi duñu mbari mita noonu so loolu dinañu woon diw moo ko moom am na luwaas te système bi dinañ mun a woon sax sa kër gi fan la nekk léegi bu ñu xamee loolu kon nañ la mun a ñëw ci yow pour ñu mun a waxtaan léegi lu nekk ndànka la boo nekkee ci kaw gi wala nga nekk Brikama sax waaye gars yi ñëwaguñ sa béréb jéemal nga ñëw wax ñu ne lii nga amee ñu waxtaan boo munutee fay yëpp ñu defal la payment plan nga ngay fay ndànk waaye boo fayutee buñ la téyee bu ñëwee ba xam ne am nga ko dañ koy delloo gannaaw non léegi loi bi li mu am mooy bu nekkee commercial property 15% la residential 8 waaye yow fayloo ko yaa ngi yore xaalis nguur li nga ko war a jot te nanguloo koo joxe léegi bés biñ la téyee da nga fay interest ak penalty interest nag loolu bés bu nekk la at central bank rate mooy central bank bu ne interest mooy lii loolu la ñuy jël penalty nag weer bu nekk la doore ko téeméer bu nekk juróom dërëm dem fukki dërëm fukk ak juróom noonu ba ñaar fukk ak juróom foofu la raayam soo léegi yow bu waree fay ese 300,000 ñu charge la interest bés bu nekk den tegaat penalty weer bu nekk bu nekkee juróom benni at nga am fayloo ñu boole loolu yëpp xaalis bu bari lay doon soo kaay leen bu leen toog ngeen di xaar ne waaye dañ ne système bi waa jotangut xaarama no bangum bés lañ la téye nguur bari na loxo bari na tànka bari na bot bari na pexe waaw soo jéemal nga ñëw balaa ñuy nga téye
Jerejef, Henry, well, viewers, just to remind you that you're watching QTV and this is your GRS taxpayer education program, which comes here every Thursday between the hours of 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. It's brought to you by the Gambia Revenue Authority in collaboration with different development agency as part of efforts to better enlighten taxpayers on what are some of the taxes and the reforms happening at the Gambia Revenue Authority. And on the program, I have Noah Mane, who is the head of the Rental Income Tax Unit. I have Ibrahim Asane, who is a taxpayer education officer, and Henry Mendy, who needs no introduction. He's a very familiar face on QTV, manager taxpayer education. Noah, let's now look at, withholding tax. You remember last week, Dr. Mamadi Cham called and he was trying to raise some of these issues about withholding tax. When you talk about withholding tax, what do you mean? What is withholding tax and why is it important?
Yeah, thank you, Rajalio. I think withholding tax is also a very important ways of collecting these taxes from people. Okay. So it is an authorization. It is also provided in the law. Okay. When you go to the IVAT Act from section 92 to 102, it all talks about how to withhold the processes, the time of payments. You will see it there. So looking at the 2025 revenue measures too, it is provided there. Okay. So that 2022 revenue measures now empowers certain categories of businesses, Like in the GRA, we call it the LTO, the like taxpayers. So those are companies, big companies. The law is now mandated them. It doesn't only stop at companies. You have NGOs, foreign bodies that are occupying people's property. The law is now mandating them to withhold your payment, an amount from your payment. So like if they are supposed to pay you an agreed amount on the contract, they are now empowered by the law, if it is a business premises or commercial property, to withhold the whole 15% from you. And that withholding should be done in a way that it is prescribed by the law. So you should take the 15% away from you, pay to GRA within 15 days, and also issue the person withholding certificate. That withholding certificate is a proof to you to show that the money that is taken from you is given to GRA. And the taxpayer in that aspect can also use that withholding certificate in filing your taxes. It's like it's your money. It's like they take the money and pay for you in advance. So anything that you're supposed to pay, whatever is paid in advance for you is deducted. Then the difference, if there's any difference, that's what you needed to pay. And likewise, if the property is used for residential purposes, they will again take 8% of your money and pay to GRA. The payment, the withholding and the due date for payment should not be more than 15 days. The money should be paid to GRA, and a certificate, the same as the other one, issued to you, the landlord. And that certificate is also tenderable. You can tender it when filing your taxes to show that this is an amount that is paid for me in advance. Then we will accept the certificate as part of your return. We will check if there's any difference that you needed to pay. You pay for it. Because before, it is mostly applied by government. Government use occupied people's properties, either for residential or commercial. All the time they are withholding. If you go to Treasury before they process your payment, they withhold a percentage from you, and they will be asked to go to GRA and commit a tax clearance. So all those are control measures. So you'll come to the GRA, we make sure you file your returns properly, we verify your taxes. If there's any other liability you need to pay, you pay for it, then you are issued a tax clearance. The tax clearance is what you would now take to the government through Treasury for them to be able to process your payment. So that is one thing that has been happening. But then it used to be 10% then, they're taken from you. Yeah, the 10% and then was across the board, whether it is commercial or residential, they were taking it 10%. So you see others whose properties happens to be residential were paying more than what they're supposed to be paying. So that's how the system is.
Yes, Ibrahim, yama inkayin kami comme ça withholding tax. Mo jama kamo withholding tax. Bari imalo mun withholding tax di. Muna mu withholding tax ni muna mala kumayati.
Okay, baraka baga aliu ko nuwa fo nyama abol nyama ni ko withholding tax afana mu tax type to mu yana ko namo long namo sifala mu yana ko moloka jo mu yana ko contract ko la karola. Ko ni nara jibe jang mo jama mansakunda e loi so ke dulado wala contrat ko di mola so loi nata sembo di la nata ye contrat ko chikay mo ya di mola adi nyanda ka jo loi sembo di la ko namo nangamo do nyanda ko bondi ala joto jani be ko ala jobe chikala pour ka da ka diala adum loi sembo mun di la wolong IVAT tax ni wolong 2012 ko no afo nyam section 92 kata section 102 and a new revenue, 2025 new revenue measures will be cool. You be all level fanati will be in bebo fanal lokon will GRA sembento and the purking withholding tax purka collect contractual babulu. So no afonyam abolnya nata moy contract ko mota contract ko ade nyanda ka jole so na 15% enda ka joji nyanda kontra kodoto kodo 15% ya samba GRA ya GRA alnyo kondu kundala joro 15% yo jan karo til tanilu kromoni ya konda manya tambile manya lale o lale blokon ya samba GRA ya jo adonia samba GRA ni ya jo loi sembo dila fanon ate ye certificate chika withholding tax certificate ya di o mola muyana ko wole o contract mola muyana ko contract ko di wala wole ta do ko la ka fay ko neyin ko do nanga mol bondi ila jodo 15% pour ka samba GRA pour ka namo in ka dila o momu yana ko ya ko kundu la ko fa nana na jiare pour que namo injo so jiare ba law 15% ko do ba consider la ko mo yana ko mo ko dim yana ko abala namo ko no so ba bon la ji so to nyum to da ya se to ta sa jo tan me o ba ko vala o mo kuldi no mo fanya betele ji o kada man ko mo yana ko do mo yana ko jiare ya tay bulle no ite fana o bo kondi la expenditure lo kono ka fo ye 15% ila ko do de na bondi jele so ko do ni manyna ka be jo 15% o patron ta ka ko vale so ni o bodaji ko nuwa fo nyami fana masakunda la bundal bi mo ko bundal me ko NGO long aning ambassador aning masakunda residential me ko yedi bantala bankol la mo la me loi so laji be dan la ko ni bol jola jam mexo da 15% yata ya bondi join kono jani ba sambala ko do te ka dira ni fana je withholding tax nuwa fo nyam fanna flalong dol ban bi residential long bo hansa residential mu 8% nodi ko akadem masakunda mu ambassador bi sabatin janne ye ambassador e mo la dulata ya luwasi ambassador ke laji ala mo kuma dol so de luwas la new ambassador ni be jola e ba mixo la ko 8% bare la tara din clairement be la rinjela be wotala bo kundula join kono pour ka samba jiari nuwa fo nyam ko kuldi mu ka metanu ba wotmo masakunda wol ka kundunum e ko man sakunda ka across the board wolong 10% so ba sign atana la fale ya samba 25% yeah 15%.
Ibrahim, I understand there's a caller on the line. Let's just speak to the caller. Hello caller, what's your name and where are you calling us from? Ito ani ibe kilende lementole.
Me call kala Serekunda.
Serekunda. Okay.
Mlafta minyi kala. Wala mu ni tax joni. Ni tax joni.
Diam santo demanding.
Nko. Ni tax joni. Sango sanem bam fukar wo karlem.
Okay. Okay, barka bake. Okay, yes. Yo, Henry, mga ko tontu rek.
Barka bake la kiriro nyata e ko fo namo nyin sango sanem bam fukar wo karlem. Sain luwa la nyami ite kela namo kani nyami binala wala nyama kajo. Natara bank le bijandi kejo sango sanne to ni lumo bene koro tare kontrago min fo e korota otoite nyandala kana jo o bank nyim fa luwa sembo diala sain ko yana bete jola anyanda kembo keme dalstani lulu kuntuje yena jiare ajo barne ajo e be witolin certificate tala ya sammane nan ya ditela sani te fanan pareda kelana ila namol fanan doljo yo witolin certificate ni fanan kafwa bala ya fi formo fil ya sammana na mol ba jela ko bankari be la nundulal to bari e jole e nyine kunduje bani luas dol fanan bije maminu jonu iso kafuje ojo en witholding bo jotale already so imanya ka fenjo to ko dai nata fana kata kare o karle o karisaba woto kodo kata nyami ba jolo wala nyam ni la to ke baru fo sangwe ba salam sila mo fil ya jo nadara like mo kunkil nalebe la dula to manke banki amanke diplomatique fango o masakunda malwaso ke pour la mol ari ake ofisoti o yake sabadula te pour la dokulal pare mo kilin nalem woto temi alon ko tel tan kordati italian da ko ne luaso kani ni pareta rek ina e joroke so ka ko do soto nyami anya da ka jol nya tilitani lulu ujogo na utambe na ko soto rek e jani tilitani lulu be banna ina e joroke abole nyam
abarka bake Henry just bala kola bi ndogar Henry Ibrahim do jema leral if withholding tax amna time ba nga dem wa so mune leral tuti rek so dege withholding tax lan moy withholding tax and then lan moy njariñam
waaw bo gisee ñu def withholding tax benen tax ta bot bo gisee ñu def ko ni nguur bugut xaalis bi mo wara am mu mun a rëcca léegi fi mu gën a yombe mooy luwas nga bere agency government wala department balaa ñu laa fay xaalis bi yëpp ba pare jiyaare den di la dem uti wala nga toog ba time bu la ne nga ñëw fay loi bi dafa ne génne leen ko fukk ak juróom bi ngeen indi jiyaare ñëw fay lu des moom bu ñëwee dina mun a fayal den ñu génnee 15 bi mu feewoon li ngeen ko dogoon ci xaalisam ngeen dugal den lu des mu fay lii mooy di risin ci gannaaw moo tax ñu def ko nii withholding nag ci rental income nguur gi ñoo ko daan def rek ko ñun laaj jiyaare bu ñu amee bu ñu la santé liggéey ñu bind la contrat balaa ñu laa fay xaalis bi yëpp dañ koy dog ñu fay la li nga war a jël den ñu joola withholding certificate léegi dañ ko li ñu rebe ñu meso léegi daf ko yaatal ñu ne léegi diplomate si nekk fii NGOs yi government agencies like taxpayers ñoo xam ne li ñu dee fay ci xaalis dem na ay millions ñu nekk like taxpayers.
I understand there's a caller. Hello caller, what's your name and where are you calling us from?
Ndele kumandiro ki Sain Jang.
Ha.
Okay, mi lafta mi senema. Lo aso bente bulu. Bari ni lo aso mi bembulu lo aso la fayda buka ko mbalundi karo fo karo e fa. Ninna dimbal. Sain wo joro be kala nyaadi.
Okay. Abarka bake kontanta bake kiliro ke nyami ko denk. Dol lafta nyinne na saje nalka kachano. Alen lafa kilola. Loi nying Ivat Act I mean foje among yam fo di mol. Ko ni be ne bu soto keno ya luas o ya lis and mol ke jo ite min soto je man sanya da ka ta soto. Ne man sa jo foy pareta min tuda je wole tela balwot wole harjet. Biko ndol fo min be sirin jani ajibe jani kan na koro jo bank ndol min be do kola ali fo min be sirin jan PAYE jani Q group ba jola ibala namo kuntulale min tuda je ya kala account bank ni namo ya sambeta jo so ndol fanan ika kuntun la jotole min be business wala fanan silo kan kantino soto fanan ba kan na ka jole so te fanan ñine la soto buloti luaya la niña molem soto ñing ifana ñanda kana mo joji rental income nak yam foti foni mansa ye yam fatelat ba luaya la niña min ndol mo sembo soto ka fo ñaka min soto kala ala dimba balu ndolo ñama auto ñanta ka yam fa mo sembo soto luwa mo dinna luaya la niña min be ka dan la rek ñanda ka jole. So Noah, in the event that you want to rent out a place and then the person wants to pay the withholding tax to GRA, like Dr. Cham explained last week, how do you resolve those kind of issues?
Yeah, I think Doctor, that's the call he make. Legally, has an organization or a government body or a LTU taxpayer, legally you are mandated. You should not go into contract with any landlord that is not willing to be withheld. Okay. So legally, so if you go in the contract and you did not withhold the person, you will go against the law. You as an institution or whatever company. So legally, it is not possible. So if the person is not willing to be withheld, it is better to call off that contract. Yeah, because legally, if you go into the
call up the contract and report the matter to the GRA, because maybe the person might get someone who will say, okay, no problem, I'm not going to withhold, so it's okay, you can just take the money.
Yeah, if the information reach GRA, we will be able to do our investigation and establish whether the place is rented out, even without you. Then we will be able to retrieve whatever tax liability is involved.
Yeah, so, I just want to add, if you remember, Jibos had that same problem during the census. And the enumerators wanted to strike, and then they came to GRA to ask.
Yeah, I remember.
And it was clarified that Jibos is right to deduct these things and remit to GRA. That's what the law says. So, and it was done.
Henry, I understand there's another caller. Hello, caller. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
My name is Aida.
Aida, okay.
I'm from Basse.
Basse, okay, Aida.
Yes,
Elephant ko muna nyini karo ka Aida.
xaalis la taka participer dama bëggoon a participer seen programme parce que programme dafa am maanaa.
waaw jërëjëf Aida.
waaw programme dafa am maanaa lool.
ok.
yow balaa ngay xam affaire yi tax yi ni nga wete nga génn outside Gambia.
jërëjëf
su ngay xam ne affaire yi tax yi ni am na maanaa am na solo. waaw.
waaw jërëjëf Aida. am na ko mu ngi jéem a justify njëriñ yi fay tax.
waaw
especially dëkk bu mel ni Gambia.
boo xoolee sax. am na dëkk yoo xam ne léegi booy apply pour dem seen dëkk foofu visa nii wala dem as a student pour nga mun a qualify for scholarship dañ la dee laajte tax clearance. Aida yow oo sa waajur.
especially most of these businessmen.
waaw
businessmen.
booy tukki nag nga ne business trip la war a dem. ñu ne la we want to see your tax clearance wala ñu laa lii. so loolu yëpp dafa am maana. jërëjëf Aida la tudd.
waaw Aida waaw Basse.
Aida jërëjëf.
te nga foog ne doo toog ba nga bëgg a tuuti nga dem jaar nga dimbale certificate. xam nga loolu problème. ok when it comes to this withholding tax, are there any exemption for organizations or individuals?
No.
Okay.
As I said, the rental income doesn't have exemptions.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't have exemption. It applies as long as the tenant is qualified to withhold. It is legally binding on him, on the tenant to withhold the tax. Yes, that's how it is. So if
we have just 2 minutes. I mean, just your final message. I mean, to viewers and listeners of the program.
Thank you. Thank you, our wonderful viewers there. It is unfortunate the program is coming to an end, and it's not right now. People started calling.
Yeah.
So, but yet still, Aliu, I think.
But I think it's also important. Maybe they are watching, and they already get what they want to know. So there's no need to call.
Yes,
So
and still, if you have any doubt that you want to clear, you either come to the GRA office or you can still send your questions to Aliu.
Yeah.
I think by somehow, we'll find a means to be able to liaise with Aliu to answer some of those questions.
Exactly. And we can also work on having a toll-free number as well. I mean, that we can have people to call. Ibrahim, just your final message.
Okay, Baraka, ko badion jibirlal ko sayang watu umtraje minister bawol tula so mbe programo en na janne program bambane ko nida withholding tax nuwa fu nyaming e kana song ini moita contract ko mo ka balanda ka te withholding tax akata jura ne fay manina sonna wala o contract ko yinda ka cancel ni sa report no jiare len te to falan sa ko kis no le o kendi onara nyalon ko anene o bum fon luwa wala dinkra luwa so adon julo wala ba mixo la o julo mbe tamira da jo with penalties and interest fanani so one time be mol dan la ko luwa ko no luwa mo yam fam moy ka fo nida rental income tax 2012 luwa mo yam fam moy mo be nyanda ka withholding tax ka jo ni na long noa
man li ma bëgg a wax mooy rek ñu war a ñoo fay tax te mooy fukki fan ci weer bi.
so loolu nga xool calendar bi.
waaw talaata mooy 15 talaata buy ñëw mooy 15 and second quarter jeex na dañu war a ñëw fay jéem leen ngeen fay balaa Tuesday di romba waaw rombe nag dina ñam penalty ak interest ñu war a fay PAYE ñu war a fay quarter of corporate tax for the second quarter ñu war a fay VAT kaay leen ngeen fay balaa talaata 15th of July pour weeri June or the second quarter waaw lii laa leen bugg a bàyyi.
jërëjëf. Thank you so much, Henry Mendy, who is Manager Taxpayer Education. Thank you so much for being on the program. Noah Mane, who is the head of the Rental Income Tax Unit at the Gambia Revenue Authority. It's always good to have you in the program. And Ibrahim Sane, who is Taxpayer Education Officer. It was good to have you in the program as well. Well, viewers, with that, we bring an end to this week's edition of your weekly GRA Taxpayer Education program. If you have any queries, anything to find out, please, you can always visit any of the GRA's offices across the country. But still, you can follow them on social media. They have a very active Facebook page, Gambia Revenue Authority, where you can always go and, ask your question, and certainly, there are the people who will provide answers for you. So on behalf of everyone here at QTV, we thank you so much, and do join us next week. Until then, continue paying your taxes for national development. Goodbye. GRA,